Peace everyone, Unmask Art here, and welcome back to the Drawing Journal. It has been a little while. I'm back from America. Actually, I'm a week back as of yesterday. Yeah, I think yesterday. I think I got back last Sunday or Saturday. I can't remember. The time zones always mess me up. So yes, I am indeed back, and today I am starting a another marker portrait. I think the last thing that I did before I went to America was a marker portrait. And I had so much fun with it that I just had to do another one. So here we are. Hello, Shiny, Jonas, Danny, Angie, and Barbara. Good to see all of you. Has been some time. I certainly missed all of you guys. That's for sure. I did indeed have a great vacation. Thank you for hoping so. It was yeah, it was really great. My sister had a very healthy baby girl, and I got to be, you know, I got to be nearby for it. I wasn't actually in the delivery room or anything like that, but I got to I got to hold her when she was after she was born, which was a new experience for me. I never held a newborn baby before, so it was surprising how teeny tiny she was. That was definitely a shock for me. Very very nice experience though. I was happy to be there. Hello, Marcy, Bonnie, and Pugcraft, Simu Kanga. Simu Kanga. Hopefully, I pronounced that somewhat correctly. Good to see all of you guys. Yeah, it has been. It feels like it has just been forever. The funny thing is, it's not been forever since I live streamed because I live streamed Tuesday and Thursday on Patreon, but for YouTube, yeah, it has been a while, and it's good to be back. That's for sure. I've been very busy. I've been very busy the past week. Um, getting back into the groove of things. Sometimes it's so hard coming back from time off to get back into working. I think that might be the most difficult thing about working for yourself is that you have to motivate yourself to start working again, and yeah, it's not the easiest bit. What type of markers am I using? So I am using Copic markers. Yeah, I guess in a way I'm just kind of gearing up for Inktober, since I'll be doing that daily live stream this year. And I bought these markers at the beginning of this year, and I never really used them. I never really found the time to use them much, and so I'm just trying to make up for lost time, and just have some fun doing some portraits. I love doing portraits in general. It's pretty much just my favorite subject. I mean, it's pretty close to my favorite subject. Um, so it's just a bit of practice and getting used to the markers and how they feel and everything. I hope that everyone had a really nice end of June, and for my fellow Americans, 4th of July as well. I bought fireworks for the first time. I'd never bought fireworks before, so That was fun. Set off some fireworks for my niece and nephew, and I guess my sister's neighborhood in general, since they could see them as well. Got to spend some nice time with my family, which was also very great. Oh, hello, Lily. I'm gonna do my best to keep this inside the camera there. Sometimes I can lose track of where my paper's at. It's very easy to lose track of it. Oh, hey there, Kenny and Stephanie. I feel like it's been so long. I hope I remember everybody's name. You guys know how I am with names. I forget them very easily. I'm glad I didn't forget how to live stream just in general. That would have been bad. Well, hopefully you won't have to wait too long to see how this turns out. I have a pretty good game plan. I've been kind of preparing this morning, and for the first time ever, I'm actually using my iPad. So I have the chat up on my main monitor, and I'm using my iPad for the reference photo. Usually, I like to have it up on my main monitor because I can use Photoshop and I can select colors and all of that stuff. But I'm giving it a shot and just going to use my iPad and see how that goes. No, Kenny, you haven't been absent from the live streams for a long time. I haven't had any live streams for a long time. um, it's been a little while. I'm pretty sure you were there not too long ago. Um, have I ever used an airbrush? Yes, yes, I have. I have used an airbrush. I have one over there, but I've never. I don't use it very often. It's kind of tough in my small space, you know. I don't like to do too much with it. But I've just done some things off camera with it. Um, so yeah, to answer your question, I have used an airbrush, and it just kind of sits over there, unfortunately. Maybe maybe I can use my airbrush on this marker piece. You know, maybe I'll just I don't know, fill in the background or something along those lines. Find some way to use the airbrush. Oh, hey there, Chrissy. Good to see you. Art Gear Guide. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat as well. Thank you for putting in the effort to find the live stream. You know, when I finally landed, oh gosh, I just remembered the ridiculous story So not too many people know this story because, well, really, I only told my family because they had to know, and of course my wife, because she likes to be updated anytime when I'm flying and like every stop and all of that, which is understandable. So I guess I'll just kind of start at the beginning of my trip to America. And if you're relatively new to my channel, then you might not know the history of my bad luck with traveling. I have really, really bad luck with traveling. I'm sure among some of the worst ever recorded. And to just give you like a very quick synopsis, I'm nearly late to my flights every time I have a layover anywhere ever. And I've flown back and forth from Poland to America more times than I can count at this point. But almost every time I leave Poland, I miss my connecting flight in Germany, which has delayed me as much as 30 hours before because I have to wait for a whole nother day plus some hours to catch the next flight out. And then, of course, coming from America, I've been arrested in Germany before. Long story, but yeah, most of you guys know that. But on this particular trip home, oh gosh, it was just ridiculous. So very ridiculous. So let me try to catch you up with the shenanigans that I had to deal with on my most recent trip back to America. So my wife and I, we flew out the same day. She was just going to Germany to visit her family, and she was going to stay there for a week or whatever. And I was going to America to deal with all of the stuff that I needed to deal with, plus see my family and all of that. So we wake up, we catch the bus into the city center to catch the bus to go to the airport. And it was a holiday here. I don't know what holiday, some Catholic holiday or whatever. But it on this holiday, on this particular holiday, people march in the streets. They go from like one location to another, to a church or whatever. And so there was traffic, and we ended up missing our initial bus to the airport, which, okay, not a huge deal. We just had to wait a little bit and catch the next outgoing bus. We still made our flight in time easily. So that was the first minor hiccup. No big deal. I was still in a good mood. Nothing wrong with that scenario there. So I get on my flight, and my plan was, in order to get used to the U.S. time zone, I wanted to sleep on my first flight, so my short flight to Germany, and then stay awake for the entire flight over the ocean. And so I have like this special ability to be able to fall asleep almost instantaneously whenever I board a flight. I get motion sickness a lot, so I've just kind of developed this skill. And I can almost sit in my seat and fall asleep within like 3 or 4 minutes. And I will never know we took off. I will never know we flew. I will never know we land. And I won't wake up until the door is open and people are leaving the plane. So like, it's happened a couple times. Usually by the time we pull up to the gate, I wake up. But yeah, so that's my superpower. But this time, I fell asleep. So I was unaware that my flight was delayed leaving Poland. I didn't find this out until we were on the tarmac in Germany that we were late. What I also didn't know is that we had to make Somewhat of an emergency landing, a minor emergency landing, but it wasn't until we were already close enough to just land at the airport we were supposed to be at. Our the left engine of the plane, there was some kind of critical error or something along those lines, and they had to shut the engine off and they couldn't turn it back on. But we were fine, and I didn't know this. I didn't know this until I woke up, like I said, on the tarmac in Germany. But when I woke up, we were just sitting there. We weren't doing anything. And it turns out, like I said, the engine went out, and so we couldn't move. So when we landed, we were stuck in the middle of the tarmac. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to miss my flight. And it was at that time that I had learned that we were like 40 minutes late leaving Poland. And I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't know what time it was. So I was like, well, I already missed my flight. So that's great. And I was like, okay. So we ended up sitting in the middle of the tarmac for about 40, 50 minutes. I don't know why it took that long for them to, come pull the plane over to its gate, but I was on the plane, so fortunately it only took 40 minutes. Let's see, what else? So yeah, I get into the terminal, and my flight was just about to take off. Like, it had already boarded. I ran to see if I could potentially catch it. I couldn't, so I had to see if, when I'd be able to leave Germany. This is not new to me at all. Like I said, almost every time I fly to America, well, I always have to fly through Germany. I usually end up missing my first connecting flight. It's just a reality that I've come to accept. But fortunately, this time around, there was another flight that was leaving like 20 minutes after my original flight, and it was flying into New Jersey as opposed to Chicago. And so I was like, oh, great. They booked me a flight, and it was leaving, like I said, in like 20 minutes. So I had to run over to the terminal to catch that flight. And when I got there, the flight was delayed. It was delayed at least an hour because there was some bad weather on the coast or whatever that we had to fly through. And so it was delayed some time. And I was like, no big deal. I'm still leaving, like in an hour or whatever. So I was content with that. So an hour goes by, we board the flight. Everything's, going well. And we take off. And for the first, hour and a half, everything is fine. But things make a turn for the worse when, now he wasn't sitting directly behind me, but he was like 3 or 4 rows back. I was on the left side of the plane. He was in the center where the 6 seats are, and he was a couple rows back. This individual decided to just smash a whole bottle of liquor, and by smash I mean he drank a whole bottle of liquor. So he was significantly inebriated, and he wanted to fight people. Not sure why. Flights are boring, or flights are bad enough that nobody wants to get into a fight. But he decided that he just wanted to fight everybody in his row, and everybody on the plane pretty much. And so they had to lock him in the bathroom on the plane. They had to lock him in the bathroom, and we had to, if you haven't guessed by now, we had to make an emergency landing about an hour and a half, 2 hours into this flight. So glad I stayed up for this flight, because this is the long flight, and I wanted to stay up so that I could get used to the time zone quicker. And yeah, so they locked him in the bathroom, and we had to make an emergency landing in Dublin, Ireland. Now, it would have been great if we could have just, went to Dublin, Ireland, throw this guy off the plane, and then get going again. However, I was on the plane, and life is not that easy when I'm on the plane. You should probably never fly with me, okay? You're never going to get there in time. You're going to be late. People are going to try to fight you. Just don't ever fly with me. I have the worst luck. So the captain comes on, and he says, there's an individual on the plane that no longer wishes to fly with us, because he has an option. And so we have to make a landing in Dublin. And so we are on our way to Dublin. We're about a half hour out, and about 15 minutes goes by. Captain comes back on the radio, and he says, bad news, because that's the only news I get on an airplane. The runway is too short in Dublin for us to land. So we have to go somewhere else. And we ended up going to Shannon, Ireland. So we had to make a big old loop and head towards Shannon, which was another 40-ish minutes or something like that. And so, of course, everybody on the plane was just... Now, instead of the drunk guy wanting to fight everybody on the plane wanted to fight this guy. But he was safely locked away in the bathroom. So we head to Shannon. We finally land, and we're sitting there on the tarmac. Police cars roll up, and then this guy comes out of the bathroom, and they escort him off the plane. It took them I don't know, the police there. I don't know if it was Irish police or there was some kind of different type of police, but they were probably the nicest police in the whole world, because this guy did not want to get into the police car, and they didn't just handcuff him and kick him in there. I would have hogtied him and picked him up off the plane and embarrassed the heck out of him. That's what I would have done. But I guess he just wanted to argue with the police as well, and refused to get into the police car. And so this kind of held things up a little bit, but it wasn't the thing that held us up. So there's rules with flight attendants and the number of hours that they're allowed to work. So because this whole shenanigans took so much time after we landed, we had to wait for new a couple, not the whole crew, but we had to wait for new crew members, because if we were to fly across the ocean, they would run over the time in which they're legally allowed to work. So we had to wait even longer for new crew members to come on board the plane so that we could actually leave. We also had to wait for the plane to be refueled. I don't know what happened. I swear I took a picture on my iPad of our flight path because you know, like on the TVs and stuff, they have like the flight path that you can follow and stuff like that. Um, Actually, what I do have one picture. Let me go to my pictures here. I think I have it. Yeah, right here. So this, they also had a tail fin camera that you could look at. So this is, I took a picture of the screen on you know, the TV screen or whatever. You can see my reflection a little bit. But so this is when we were landed in Shannon. Over here, I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, over here is the police. There's like 5 or 6 of them here, and the guy arguing with them. That's the police car that they took him in. Here's several other police cars or whatever. And yeah, so that's that shenanigans. We had to sit there for like, I don't know, another hour at least, because fueling, and then they had to get clearance. They had to get clearance in order to leave. You know, the plane had to get clearance. So we were stuck there for some time. You know, it wasn't just like we could leave. So finally, okay. After being on this flight for, I don't know, probably about four-ish hours, I think we were there. Like after we left Germany, it was about 4-ish hours that we were already on the plane. We still had a good 6.5 to get from Ireland over to New Jersey. And I'm just estimating could be as much as 7. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't look at the clock. I just try to watch movies and not go crazy. So finally we leave. We're over the ocean. We got rid of the drunk idiot, and we're gonna get food. Well, get food. So another constant irritation that I always have to deal with, that I always have to deal with when I fly. I make, because I'm vegan, I make meal requests every time I fly. If I want to eat something, I need to make a meal request and request vegan. So I do it every single time I fly for obvious reasons, because you get hungry on plane rides. And because, if you remember, this is not my original flight. I was not supposed to be on this airplane. I was supposed to already be in Chicago, or at least halfway to Chicago by the time we were fiddling around in Ireland. So because this was not my original flight, you could probably guess that they did not have a vegan meal for me, because when I, requested my meal, it was for my original flight, not for the flight that I, thought I was fortunate enough to be able to catch, because I had missed my original one. So, like, 5-6 hours into this flight, the guy offers me a banana. Oh gosh, I wanted to just punch him in his face. It just baffles me that there was nothing else that he was like capable of coming up with that I could eat. And I would have taken the banana, okay, but he never brought it to me. Okay, so even after all that, he didn't even bring me the banana. So here I am, hungry as can be, somewhat getting irritated. To be honest with you, at this point, I was kind of laughing it all off. I mean, it was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. Like, half of you, I'd be surprised if you don't even believe my story. I mean, it's so ridiculous that I can't even I can't even exaggerate it. I don't even know how to exaggerate it. But I was laughing it all off. I wasn't angry. I wasn't, you know, pouty or anything like that. When the guy offered me a banana, I laughed. And I went back to watching movies. I don't even remember what movies I watched, but anyways. Yeah, so that was the food scenario. Now, they always give you, on these long flights, they always give you 2 meals. Well, they give you like 1 full meal, and then they give you like this hot snack, which sounds weird to say. But the snack thing's kind of like a Hot Pocket, if you're familiar with Hot Pockets. It's kind of like a microwavable, like breaded wrap thing. I don't know what's in it, but they're vegan. They give it to everyone, or they offer it to everyone. It's kind of like the peanuts of, or not the peanuts, but the pretzels of the plane ride, but it's like hot. And so they make them vegan so that everybody can have them. And so right before, about an hour and a half out from New Jersey, I was finally able to get, you know, some kind of food. And I usually enjoy them, so it's not terrible. It's pretty tasty, actually. But I was still really hungry. Not a whole lot. Fortunately, there was one really nice, what do you call those people? Flight attendant. Jeez, I don't know how I forgot that. Yeah, there was this one guy that was really, really nice, and so when he came around with the little wraps, he was also the guy that, you know, seemed to actually feel bad that I didn't have any food, because I told him the story of, this isn't my flight. I just got, you know, the pleasure of riding along. And my meal request was for a different flight. And so I asked him for 2, and he gave me 2. So there was that, you know, shimmer of positivity. Well, we finally land, okay? We finally land in New Jersey. I only missed my flight by like 6.5 hours, which was always fun to explain to the people that worked at the desk when they asked me, how did I miss my flight by so much time? And essentially I would just condense the story down to, a drunk guy on my last flight wanted to fight everyone, so we had to make an emergency landing in Ireland. That was essentially what the story came down to, because I had to say it so many times. But the issues were not easily resolved when I got to New Jersey. Okay, things did not go up from there. All right. So we got there like just before midnight, and this was like 5 hours after my flight had already left. So I had to stay the night, and finding a desk to get a new plane ticket and to also get, you know, a hotel room was the worst airport experience I've had stateside, because because nothing's ever going to beat being arrested in Germany. But yeah, so what was the deal? If you've never been to the Newark, New Jersey airport, just know that there's 3 terminals that are connected by like a kind of an underground tram. It's kind of both underground and above ground, so just a tram. And it takes about maybe 60 seconds from one terminal to the other riding the tram. And when you go to the tram, you have to walk around almost like you're going through security, and then you have to go either up a huge flight of stairs, like giant flight of stairs, or down a huge flight of stairs. So either way, you're going up and down these giant flights of stairs. And I had to go to a different desk like 4 or 5 times that were in different terminals every single step of the way. So to find out which desk I needed to go to get a new ticket, I had to go to one desk. They had to tell me to go back to a different terminal, which meant walking around up or down a giant flight of stairs, wait for the tram, take the tram over, walk back up or down a giant flight of stairs, and walk back around to another desk, and then get a ticket. And then to get a hotel, I had to go back to a different desk, which was in a different terminal. So I had to walk around, back, up or down a giant flight of stairs, wait for the tram. And I had to do this at least 5 times. It was probably closer to 6. Walking around and up and down these giant flights of stairs, waiting for the tram. By the time I finally got my ticket for the next flight, which was a full 24 hours the next day. So it wasn't like I get to wake up in the morning and take a flight from New Jersey to Cleveland, because nobody from New Jersey apparently wants to ever fly to Cleveland. So they have one plane a day. One plane a day, okay? It leaves at like 8 p.m. or something. And yeah, so that was the great news when I got my ticket, was that, oh, it doesn't leave until the following day at 8 p.m. So that was exciting to learn. And then, what else? Yeah, so I arrived a little bit before midnight. I didn't get my plane ticket, my hotel, and I didn't even get to the hotel until about 2:30 in the morning. So running back and forth between terminals, going to different desks to figure out, everything, took about 2 hours. So by the time I got to the hotel, it was like a little after, or a little bit before 3 or something like that. I don't even remember exactly, so I can't really say for sure. But it was definitely past 2:30. That I do know for sure. I go to sleep, okay? I go to sleep, and I'm relatively, acclimated to the time zone, which is nice. At least I have that. I wake up, around like 8-ish or whatever. Now, when I signed into the hotel, they gave me, a $10 compensation for breakfast. And I was like, oh, at least, I can wake up and I can get something to eat. There's got to be, every hotel has like that cheap old, breakfast buffet that has, some apples and oranges and bananas or whatever. So I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll just, I'll get a couple apples or a banana or whatever. No big deal. So I get up, I go downstairs to go to breakfast, and it's more like a restaurant. it was just a Days Inn hotel. Like they were far from fancy. If you've ever been to a Days Inn, it's like a 3-star hotel. There's literally nothing. There's you don't seek out to stay at a Days Inn. You seek out to not stay at a Days Inn. Like that's the level that they're at. And and I was like, okay. So I sit down, and the waitress, or maybe it was a waiter. I don't. Yeah, I think it was a guy. He tells me that the buffet is $20, and I was like, they only gave me a comp for $10. Like, why would you give me a comp for $10 when the buffet is 20? Like, no matter what, I have to pay to eat the buffet. And I was like, well, before I say, oh, okay, yeah, let me get the buffet, let me go over and see what they have that I would be able to tolerate. And if you haven't guessed it by now, they had garbage. Okay, they had some toast that I could probably eat. They had the grossest looking, nearly black bananas, and no apples, no oranges. They had a moderate selection of cold cereals. And when I asked if they had non-dairy milk, they did not have any non-dairy milk. So cold cereal, unless I ate it dry, would be my option. And they had nothing else that would have been edible for me since I'm vegan. So I was like, look, I'm not going to pay $10 extra for a buffet to have, black bananas and cold cereal without some kind of milk or whatever. Dry cold cereal. Okay? I was not going to do it. I would rather not eat than do that. So when I went back to the table, there was a menu. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I can just order, something that's less than $10. So the waiter came back, and I was like, could I looked at the menu. There was no options. There was no option, except for toast. That was my option. There was the toast option. A piece of toast that cost $7. Okay, $7 for a piece of toast. You can buy a whole loaf of bread for $7. Okay, not making it up. The slice of bread was $7. So I was like, at this point I was starting to lose it. Okay, I was slightly sleep deprived. Okay, I'm already a day late at getting back to my family, and I'm pretty hungry at this point as well. Like, I only had a couple warm snacks from the plane in the past. Like, I don't know what it's been. It's been like, it would have been about 18 hours or so. 18 hours of travel time, which was 2 hours more than my original travel time was supposed to be. So yeah, things are just going great, That's my luck traveling. So when the waiter comes back, I kind of grit my teeth and I'm like, can I have a piece of toast with peanut butter? I want, like, give me the toast and peanut butter. I was like, and then I ordered tea. I don't know what the tea cost. I didn't actually check the price of tea. It never really mattered because I literally just got up and left the restaurant anyway. So he brings out the toast. Okay, I I didn't actually pay for the toast because I had a voucher for $10, right? He brings out the toast, and I swear to you, one tiny thing of peanut butter, 20 things of butter, 20 things of butter, like literal handful of butter. At no point did I want or ask or suggest that I wanted anything to do with butter. And that's what he brings me. But the worst part is that the toast was burnt black. Oh, geez. I can't help but laugh at the story because it's so ridiculous. So many things went wrong, but they weren't connected in any way, right? Like, having a late plane has nothing to do with getting burnt toast. But if you're going to pay $7 for toast, I don't think that it should come out black, burnt. I looked at this piece of toast and I put the one small thing of peanut butter on it. And I was so frustrated. Oh my gosh, I was so frustrated. I was like, how do you mess up toast? Come on, people. Toast. And so I take one bite. I give it a shot, okay? I give the toast a shot. I take one bite. The peanut butter is disgusting, which I pretty much expected it to be because it's super processed. It's barely peanut butter. It's like just hydrogenated oils. But the toast was so burnt it hurt my teeth, okay? So I throw the toast down on the plate. I get up. I go back to my room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if I do not find something to eat, I'm going to go crazy, okay? I'm going to go crazy if I don't find something to eat. So when I go back to my room, I have my iPad with me. And I have a Skype phone number. It's a subscription-based phone number with Skype. And so I have a US phone number, and it lets me call the US and stuff for like $10 a month. And so I was like, well, I'll just call something or whatever to get food. Well, I don't know if you've ever looked for vegan food in New Jersey, but it's not that popular, okay? It's really not that popular. It was still about 9 o'clock in the morning, so even the vegan places that did exist weren't open. They also don't deliver, so there's that. So my next idea was, there's all those apps, those delivery service apps. So I looked one up called Uber Eats, and so I download the app. It took me like 40 minutes to just set up the account. It was so frustrating. But it took me like 40 minutes. And that 40 minutes includes me searching for a pizza place that I can just, omit the cheese and add veggies and it's vegan. And I write in, don't put cheese, these are the veggies, and then I click to pay for it. I have my PayPal attached to the account, all of that, so it should just pay with PayPal. And I click, place order, and then it does like a little loading screen, and then a warning pops up that says, I cannot place an order because my phone number is incompatible. Turns out you can't use Uber Eats app if you're using a Skype phone number. Of course, they didn't mention that when I was setting up the account to order food. So I spent that 40 minutes setting up this account and everything, and I couldn't even use it to order food because I can't use a Skype phone number. So I was like, oh my goodness, I am about to go absolutely crazy. So I, um, I decided to travel with some Inca, which is like a coffee alternative. It's basically a roasted rye and barley grain that makes kind of like a coffee taste. It comes in like a powder form or packets like tea. I brought it with me in my checked bag because I love it in the morning and I wanted to share it with my family. So I'm like, well, I have that in my carry-on, so let me make myself a cup of Inca before I lose my mind. Okay, that was my mindset. I walk over to my checked bag and I notice that TSA cut my lock off. I was like, why would they cut the lock off? It was a TSA approved lock. Like it was that special lock that you can lock your luggage with that they have a key to open, when they have to do a bag check. Of course they check my bag, right? Of course they check my bag because I probably have Inca in it. So when they scanned it, they're like, what is this powder? They can't see a powder, but whatever. Maybe they were more intrigued by my toothpaste. I don't know. Either way, they cut my lock. So I noticed that, and I'm like, oh gosh, what now? I open my suitcase. Jeez, hold on a second. I gotta use a different color here. So I open my suitcase, and there is Inca everywhere. Whatever clown opened my suitcase to check the contents, because clearly I'm a drug dealer. They opened up my Inca and they just flang it everywhere. It was so sticky because it was kind of moist or whatever. It was like humid underneath the plane. So there was like sticky Inca all over my stuff. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I couldn't think of a single thing left. Like, is there anything else that could possibly go wrong on this trip? I honestly couldn't think of one more thing. Fortunately, there was enough left in the bag for me to make a cup of Inca. And so that's what I did. I just made a cup of Inca. I like it. I like Inca with soy milk. I didn't have soy milk. Neither did the hotel. But yeah, so I just had basically a black cup of coffee. That's what it tastes like. So not the greatest cup of Inca, but at least it was something, right? I wasn't going to complain. At least it was something. But yeah, so I had an Inca-filled suitcase, and after I had my cup of Inca, I figured, well, maybe I'll be able to order a pizza, just by calling the pizza place, or I can order it online or whatever. So I had to find out which pizza places were in the area and which ones had vegan sauce and vegan dough, because sometimes pizza places use butter or milk fat or milk protein in their dough, and then sometimes they use cheese in their pizza sauce. So I found a place that has vegan a veganable pizza, and I ended up ordering it online. And this was about noon. All right, so all of this, and it's only noon. So I have 8.5 hours before my flight. It's only noon. I finally, I put in the order online. I'm like constantly refreshing the page to make sure that that it's being made and it's being delivered. And I typed like 4 different ways, like, don't put cheese on my pizza. Please don't put cheese on my pizza. Because I was like, if they put cheese on my pizza, I'm going to fight the delivery driver. So I said it like 3 or 4 times to not put cheese on my pizza. And I was like, that should be safe enough. Spoiler alert, it was safe enough. But yeah, so I was refreshing the page, just watching the order being fulfilled. And finally it was, being out for delivery or whatever. So I go down to the main desk area and wait for the delivery guy. He comes, I check the pizza, everything's good. I take the pizza back up to my room, and my room key doesn't work, okay? My room key doesn't work. So I'm like, oh my gosh, can I just eat my pizza? I was like, why? Why does my room key not work? Well, I call down in the hallway. There's a phone, so I use that to call down to the front desk, and they're just like, "Oh, well, come down and we'll, give you a new room key." So I go down there, hand the guy my room key, and I say, my room key's not working, and he like checks the room or whatever, and he tells me, you were supposed to check out at 11. And I looked at him and I was like, why? I was like, my flight doesn't leave until 8:30. And I was like, and when I checked in, nobody told me that. I was like, nobody told me that I had to check out at 11. I remember that when I was standing at the front desk, I looked at the time. It was 11, or no, it was 1:34. Okay, I remember seeing the clock when I was standing there. It was 1:34. And he tells me, well, I can give you until 2. So it's 1:34. I have this pizza in my hand that I haven't even gotten to eat. I can smell it, and all I want to do is eat it because I'm starving. And this dude is telling me he's going to give me 15 minutes to eat this pizza, and I have to check out of the hotel. And oh gosh, I was so close to losing it right there. I was just so close to losing it. So I go up to my room. Of course, things are still somewhat of a mess because, Inca in my suitcase wasn't really in the mood to clean that up right away. So I clean my stuff up, pack my suitcases, get everything ready for me to leave. I sit on the bed. I think I had like 2 slices of pizza, and then I just took 2 plates and kind of piled the pizza up on plates and then sandwiched the plates and left the whatever mess I could in that hotel. And then I go back down, check out, and take the bus back to the airport. I get to the airport. The airport's like right across the highway, so it's like 10 minutes away. So I'm at the airport 6 hours before my flight's ever supposed to even board. And Yeah, I just go sit in my terminal, munch on my pizza. I mean, nothing eventful. My flight was not delayed after the excruciating 6 hours. My flight was not delayed, so you know that's good, I guess. I get to. Did I really use the wrong color? I didn't use the wrong color. This is the right color. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I thought I used the wrong color. I was gonna cry. Reliving this story is not as fun for me as it might be for you. Yeah, so I finally get to Cleveland. My flight gets in right around midnight, right? Yeah, it's right around midnight. And I'm like, oh gosh, I can't wait to just, see my family and get into bed and go to sleep. This is what snapped me, okay? The whole trip I was pretty much laughing, okay? I was pretty much laughing the whole time. I was still in a relatively decent mood. I was like, you know what? Whatever. Life is life. I can live with this. It's not that big of a deal. Whatever. Why is it that I get to the airport, nobody is there to pick me up? My sister was supposed to pick me up. She's at work, like just working. And my dad is sitting at my sister Lisa's waiting to figure out if he needs to come get me. Well, it was a bit of a miscommunication, no hard feelings, but I I was immediately in the worst mood for the entire trip because nobody was there to pick me up. You know, it's been like eight 8 or 9 months since I seen my family, and nobody was there. Nothing welcomes you home more than your flight landing and no one in your family being there to meet you, especially after the shenanigans of getting there. Like, nothing will put you in a worse mood than that. So I was pretty heated, but it didn't last long because whatever, it wouldn't do me any good to, you know, be mad at my family. So it wasn't worth it. So I just kind of scratched it and moved on with my life. But either way, yeah, that's it. I think that I don't know how long that took. That took a long time, but that was my trip home. That was just the trip, that was just getting there, right? The actual time being there was nice. Um, but yeah, anybody anybody have a worse travel experience than that? I'd be surprised, and I'd feel really bad if anyone had a worse travel experience than that. But it makes for a really fun story, wouldn't you say? Pretty fun story. What's the difference between Copic, Chow, and Sketch? The Sketch are better. Just get the Sketch. Are there any cheaper good artist markers? Not that I am aware of. I can't say for sure because I haven't used all of them. So I can't really say. The markers that I used to use in the past, the Letraset, they're not made anymore, so I can't say those ones because otherwise I would. Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be back in Poland. That's for sure. After that ordeal, I couldn't wait to just be with my wife. I guess I can go into, if you guys want me to, I can go into my story while I was home a little bit. I thought I was going to get farther on this. You know, marker portraits, they're tough. They're time consuming for sure. And there's no room for error, so I have to be really careful. But I didn't plan on getting to the ear, so I'm going to avoid the ear. I think what I mentioned before I went to visit my family, I had mentioned several times that I intended on buying a house. And I had no experience at all, ever, whatsoever, at buying a house. I had zero experience. I had no idea what the process felt like, or what I needed to do, or what, information I needed to provide. Literally no experience at all. And I don't know if anybody in my immediate family, aside from my sister Lisa now, even owned a house. So really had no idea what I was doing. But I was home for 2 weeks. The first Saturday that I was there, I went and played golf. I think the next Sunday was relatively a lazy day. The following Monday, however, the other thing, before I forget, so last month, I've been doing these like monthly challenge thingies. Most of you are aware, but so last month my challenge thingy, I don't have a proper name for it, so I'm just going to call it challenge thingy. Was to wake up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, blah, blah, blah. You guys know that. And also to read at least an hour a day, every day. So I didn't get to my record. My record is 11 books in 28 days. That is the most books I've ever read in a month. I did that when I was in the Navy. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to beat that record for the month where I gave myself the challenge, which was the month of June. And then, also the secondary challenge, which was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, no matter what. So for the month of June, I ended up reading 8 books, so 3 shy of my record. And I'm halfway through my second book for this month of July. I slowed down a bit, but I still wake up at 5. Did not miss a single day. So that was good. So yeah, aside from that, anyways, moving on. Buying a house. So I got there Saturday morning. After all the shenanigans, I got to I got to my sister's house real early Saturday morning, like 2 a.m. ish. And then The following Monday, the following Monday, my sister, I kept waking my family up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it was my sister, sometimes it was my dad. They both had to deal with it. I was just like, "Get up, you lazy bum," and yeah. So that the following Monday, I got my sister Cece up, and we were looking at houses, and I I decided that I was going to buy a house with just cash. I was just going to make cash offers. So I was looking for relatively cheap houses. And so I found like 5 or 6 houses that had some potential, or they appeared to have some potential online. So we drove around that morning to check them out in person. About 9 o'clock in the morning, I made a few phone calls to try to get a hold of the realtors that were, working with the houses. Only one of the 3 that I called answered the phone, and I asked him if there would be a chance to see the house, and he said he could do that day around like 2, and I was like, "That's perfect. I'll see you at 2." Well, we go over to the house. It looks very promising. I still have no idea what the process is for buying a house or anything like that. So I just tell him, I can do this much, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'll get in contact with the seller and see what he has to say about it." About 2 hours later, the realtor calls me back and says that the seller accepted my offer, and he sends me the contract. The contract stuff you can just sign in email. You don't even have to see anybody or anything. It's great. So he sends me the contract, and I sign the contract with the contingency of an inspection. So kind of just 2.5 days there, I find a house, see a house, make an offer on the house, offer gets accepted, and I put it under contract all in a single day. I get an inspector a couple days later to do the inspection. Inspection comes back, a little decent, but I change my offer. I lower my offer significantly. Seller comes back with a counter offer, which was like $100 above my maximum that I was willing to go, and I wasn't going to argue over $100, so I accepted the offer, and I closed on the house the very next week. So I went from never owning a house, never having any idea how to buy a house or do anything with a house at all, to buying one within 2.5 days, closing on it within a week after it being under contract, and now I officially own a house. So overall, my experience buying houses, pretty good. I did not waste any time. It was a fun experience. Yeah, definitely a fun experience. Oh, thank you, Sally. What paper am I using? I am using Strathmore Bristol plate. That's what I'm using. Strathmore Bristol plate, the best paper. What happened when I got arrested in Germany? Oh, it was just a mistranslation, and yeah, it was just a mistranslation, and they just detained me for like 12 hours. It was just, yeah, it was stupid. It was kind of scary, but it was fine. It worked out. No big deal. That's the easy side of the story. I don't wanna go too much into that story. I have a video that I've already done of that story, so you can watch it as it happens because I was vlogging at the time. So no, I didn't get arrested again. No, that was just that one time. It's just that's my other travel horror story. Oh goodness, I didn't realize it was 1600 already. As much as I don't enjoy reliving the story of traveling home, I did enjoy telling it to you guys. So hopefully I didn't bore you. Of course, if you got bored with that story, then you could probably just unsubscribe from me now, because it's about as good as it's gonna get as far as stories go from me. Did I even use that color? Am I thinking about moving? That's a question that came up a lot while I was home. Um, and so I'll just tell you what I told pretty much every family member and friend that asked me whether or not I was planning on moving back to the United States. Now, I kind of addressed this question before I left, and it's changed a bit. It's changed a little bit since I last answered it. So, um, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I plan on retiring in 10 years. That's been my lifetime goal since I was about 14 years old. I never wanted to, I wanted to retire at 40. Now, what retirement means for me is probably totally different than what you might think in your head or have planned for yourself. But for me, 40, that's the age, that's where it's stopping. I don't know what stops, but it's stopping, okay? Um, so I have 10 years to make that happen. And my plan that I only recently came up with is to do is to get into property investing, which is what I did. Um, I proved my seriousness and intent to do so by buying a house in 3 days. Um, and so that's kind of the beginning. And my plan is to buy a new house or property every year for the next 10 years. And what I was thinking of doing for next year is whatever property I end up buying, uh, I was thinking of living in it. So I was considering the idea. Um, sorry, I'm trying to find my colors. So I was thinking next year, probably around springtime, I was is when I'm going to buy my next property. And I figured, if things don't progress here in Poland as far as finding a new flat, if plans will change if my wife and I move into a better location here in Poland. I'll still buy a property, I'll just buy a different property. Because right now, I'm thinking, what I'm thinking now, maybe I'm just making this too complicated, and I'm trying to find my colors at the same time. My plan is that I'm going to buy a property, and there is the possibility that it's going to be a property in which I intend to move into, live in. If that is the case, things will be, a bit different, because if I move to the United States next year, my wife will not be coming with me. So we'll have to go back to a long distance relationship. Neither one of us really, we don't want that, obviously, but that's kind of the impasse that we are currently at right now. Sorry about that. That sneeze kind of came from nowhere. So yeah, there's just some things. There's just some things. I don't know what else to say. But the possibility of moving back exists. I guess that's all I'm really trying to say. If I buy a property, it would probably be something like a quadplex. That's what ideally I think I'd want it to be, a quadplex. And then I would live in one, which would let me get a better loan. And then I just rent the other three out. And that's called house hacking, because that legally, there's certain loans that you're not allowed to get, which usually has the best interest rates and the lowest amount of money down needed to secure the loan. But you have to live in the property for at least a year, and sometimes that time is different. That length of time is different. So it's called house hacking because you can use these types of loans to buy properties that are up to a quadplex. Anything above 4 doors is considered commercial property. I don't know why I'm teaching you guys this, but yeah. So that's kind of the plan so far. The possibility of moving back just depends a little bit on house buying, property investing stuff, really. But I don't want to move back. I love living in Poland, so the intention is not there, but the possibility still exists. And that's just me being pragmatic about it, so. How does Anya feel about me going back on my own? Well, I mean, she doesn't like it any more than I do, but the reality is that's just, I mean, we have to do what is best for our future, and that's just life. And so we just kind of have to deal with what we have to deal with when things come to it. I mean, essentially the roles would switch a little bit. If I were to move back to the States, then I'd end up visiting Poland. I mean, fortunately, I do work that. I mean, I work remotely, so I can work anywhere in the world and take a break whenever I want. So it makes things a little bit easier, but at the same time, being that far away from my wife, and she's kind of been complaining a little bit because ever since I got back, I've just been completely attached to her. I just don't want to leave her alone. I don't know. I missed her. I missed her more than usual on this trip back home. I really hated being there without her, but it just didn't make any sense for her to be there. I would have been running around like crazy constantly, doing the house stuff, and I had to do some taxes while I was there as well, which was, that's always fun. So it was just, it wouldn't have been the right environment for her to be there, just because we wouldn't really have gotten that much time together. My wife has the same kind of reaction as I do. Like we just face reality. Like that's one of the things that I love about her, is that uh, she doesn't complain very much at all. I don't complain. I mean, perhaps my story about my flight over sounded like complaining. I don't think it was. I don't think it sounded like complaining, but the truth is neither one of us really complain at all. We just kind of face reality. It is what it is, and we just deal with it and move on. And so, if the case being that I end up moving back for some time or whatever, that would just be the reality, and we would deal with it. But hopefully it's not, the case. Hopefully we don't have to go that route because neither one of us wants to. It's just we gotta make wise choices so that set ourselves up for the success that we want, so that we can benefit from it later on, even if that means making a few hard choices now so that we can benefit from them later on. Still have a lot of work smoothing out the skin here, but I feel like I got it in a pretty good spot. I mean, I'm zoomed in a bit, but I mean, you can, when I zoom out, you can see, the contours of the face a little bit. I got the colors pretty close to what I wanted. This was my color palette here that I made with my little mixtures and stuff. But yeah. I'm gonna call it a day. That was a pretty long drawing journal. I'll be starting a new project. I'll be starting a new project tomorrow on Patreon. So if any of you watching aren't pledged to me over on Patreon, I would greatly appreciate it if you came over and joined everyone there. I also have a couple student spots available. So if you want to do like one-on-one classes with me, I have two student spots available that you can sign up for. And then, I mean, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for coming by and hanging out with me, listening to my story. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'll have a new tutorial coming out this Wednesday also. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm still working to record the pastel portrait course. That is still in the works. I was hoping that I could get it done this month. I'm not gonna put too much pressure on myself, but hopefully at least by the end of next month, I think, or maybe early next month. Having a difficult time finding a good reference photos, but Yeah, that's going to be it for today. So I will see you all next time. Take care. Peace.